So if I had to start all over again from scratch, I might do things in a different order. Today I'm going to talk about the first 5 mods that if I had to do it all over again, I would make to my Toyota Tacoma in building it out as an Overland rig. Now the first thing I want to talk about is something I haven't changed my mind on, and that's a good set of tires. Now the reason that I think a good set of tires is the most important thing that you can add to your rig is the Tacoma right out of the box is a very capable vehicle. Building out a truck is a very long process. My goal when I get the truck is to go out and experience the outdoors, go camping, do some off-roading. And when you look at the grand scheme of building out a rig, it's a lot of time and a lot of money. So the first thing that I'm gonna go do is just go buy a set of great tires that are gonna fit on my stock Tacoma. Now I've said this before on my channel. I still don't think that there's a trail that I've ever been on that a stock Tacoma with a good set of tires wouldn't have been able to do. Now I've got a little bit of a lift kit on my truck. I do have some lift in the front and the rear. I do have some 33-inch tires on my truck, but even this last trip that we just went on, where we did get into a little bit of wheeling and some adventurous type scenarios, the only problem where I would have really second guessed myself in a stock Tacoma was when we came across some snowbanks. But given that I had 4-wheel drive, a rear locker, and I had a buddy with me that could tow me if I got stuck, I probably, even in a stock Tacoma, would have pushed on through that as well. Now, while I don't think anybody's going to give me too much pushback on getting a good set of tires for their rig, I think I may get a little bit of pushback on this next one. And for me, adding a rooftop tent is probably going to be the next thing that I'm going to want to do to my truck. So if you've been following this channel from the beginning, that may be pretty surprising to hear from me. Now I've been camping my whole life. For the last 35 years, I've been camping in a ground tent, and just this last year, I've been camping in a rooftop tent. And it's really made that big of a difference for me. Now, one of the things that I really love about it is I've got my bedding, my pillows, all that stuff is in there all the time. So not only does it make leaving and packing for a camping trip a lot easier, it's incredibly easy to set up, it's incredibly easy to tear down. And when we're going from camp to camp every single day, that really takes a lot of the hassle and the work and the headache out of things. Now, most importantly, I've always been a really light sleeper. And so I've just become, over the last 30 years of camping, have been kind of accustomed to just not sleeping that well on camping trips. But these things have really made a big change in that area for me. Now the tent that I have is the CVT Mount Shasta Hybrid. It has a 2.5-inch memory foam mattress that is incredibly comfortable. Now when I get into camp, I level out the truck, I open that thing up, it doesn't take long to set up, and I'm laying down with a very comfortable bed, and I'm off the ground, away from critters, away from bugs. It's really been a really tremendous experience. And so when I think about if I had to do it all over again today, that would be absolutely one of the things that I'd grab and throw in my truck as quickly as possible. Now the next thing that I would add would be a refrigerator. Now if you've been camping, maybe with an ice chest on a hot weekend, I probably don't need to tell you twice what a pain in the neck it can be to have to go into town every single day and get more ice because your ice is melting and maybe your stuff's not staying cool enough, maybe your food's going bad, it's getting wet, it's getting soggy. Ice chests were just always such a pain in the neck for me. It's something that I gladly put up with because I loved camping. But now, you know, getting a refrigerator and adding everything that you need to make it work is actually a pretty affordable process now, given today's technology and what's available to us. Now, I've got several videos on my channel that cover how I've powered this refrigerator and what refrigerator I'm using. And so if you want to see more on that, I will link those in the video description for you. But without a doubt, tires, rooftop tent, refrigerator, those are definitely my first 3. Now, let's get into the next 2. So technically, adding something that you could mount your tent to and adding something that will power your fridge would technically be the next 2 modifications, but I feel like giving you guys some bonuses today. And so the next modification I would make would be lighting. Now that goes against a lot of popular opinion. A lot of people will kind of mock the idea of light bars before sliders or armor or suspension, all that kind of stuff. But I think I've got a good reason on why considering some good lighting upgrades early on could be a good decision. First, as I mentioned earlier, the Tacoma right out of the box is very capable. And typically, I don't do any really hardcore wheeling, and I think most people don't. I think that if you take your time on the trail and you're really careful with where you're going, you use a spotter when you need it, you can protect your truck. Now, it doesn't mean things aren't going to go wrong, but that's a risk that everybody needs to take into consideration for themselves. Now, when it comes to lighting, if you're like me, I go camping on Friday nights after work, after a long week of work, and it's pretty late when I'm getting out there and it's pretty dark. I think lighting has had a huge impact on my ability to navigate where I'm going and also find camp in the dark. It's really rough with just your stock headlights when you're out in the middle of nowhere. And so I've added a light bar, ditch lights, fog lights, and I can see great at night. I think for a lot of people, lighting can be kind of an affordable upgrade to make early on, and it does. If you're somebody like me, if you're just the average Joe going camping or going on an overland trip for the weekend after a long week of work, you're gonna put that thing to work. And to be honest with you, I put my lights to work a whole lot more than I've ever put my sliders to work. Now, not for a second do I think sliders aren't important. In fact, if you're gonna start really getting into some more technical off-roading, which I have been working on myself, sliders are very important. I'm working on building up my off-road suspension a little bit more right now, and there's a lot that I'm adding to protect my vehicle. But when I'm talking about early on, if I come across a place where I think I'm gonna need a rock slider, if I've got a stock Tacoma, maybe I just turn around and find a different trail, because there's always a different trail. Now the last one, and I think it's a really important one, is storage and organization. I've got some Pelican cases on my roof, and they carry some of my tools, my recovery equipment, some extra camping gear, and inside my truck bed I've got some Milwaukee Pack-Out toolboxes, which really organize all my camp kitchen equipment. Now there are some different videos on the channel. I'll also link those in the description for you guys to check out, where you can see a little bit more of what that setup looks like. But I think it's really important when you're out on a trip or when you're trying to leave to be able to grab your gear and go. And when you're out there, have everything where you need it to be when you need it. And so organization and storage could be a huge one. There's tons of different systems that you can do. Early on, I did add a deck drawer system to my Tacoma, which I don't have anymore. And so that was great. It served its purpose. I've decided to go in a different direction, but having some kind of storage or organization system is really important. And there's a lot of super affordable ways to do it. I happen to think the version that I have right now with the Milwaukee cases is a great one. If you want to see more, make sure you check out that video. Now, if you want to see a little bit more on some of the modifications that I've done to this truck, I recently just did an interior modification video where I cover some of my favorite mods. A lot of them are once again related to the whole overlanding camping type thing. And so there's some really great stuff in there I think you guys might like if you're a second-gen Tacoma owner. With that being said, thanks for watching. I hope to see you guys out there. We'll catch you in the next one.